So Freddie is playing the part of a student with cerebral palsy. Very high tone, all 4 limbs were affected. And we've liaised with his physiotherapists and we've developed a program designed to initially help him relax, which hopefully will help reduce tone, and we're going to try to straighten his arms and legs if we can, get the body more into line. Longer term, we said we're going to try to increase the range of limb movement and maybe even get him into different positions with support. The very first thing we need to do is make him comfortable. So everywhere there was a gap that he was maintaining with his own muscles, we filled it to help bring about relaxation. And you can use simple things. We've used pillows, bubble wrap, towels, a bag of balloons. The important thing, you can use foam blocks, that sort of thing, duvets, many other things. Your own body, of course, which we'll look at later on. But the important thing is to get him comfortable. So now, hopefully, he's comfortable. We're going to gently ride the bed. So can you just very gently, very, very gently. So this gentle riding, hopefully, will start to relax him even more. And that really is quite enough. I mean, as far as intensity is concerned. Do bear in mind that if he's looking straight up into a bright light, that might hinder his ability to relax. So you might need to turn the lights down or put a scarf over his eyes, or however's happy. So just keep the riding going, if you would. And I would suggest that you might want to do this for 5 or 10 minutes before you even think about trying to move his body. Because we want him to be enjoying the sensations, allowing himself to relax. You might even play some gentle music, maybe shine some lights on the ceiling, whatever, just to provide a nice relaxing environment for him. So we'll imagine now that you've been doing this for 5 or 10 minutes, and it's a very good idea to have an assistant. So I'll be your assistant, okay? So can you keep the riding going? And we're going to see now whether he's starting to relax. So we'll see if those hands will come down a little bit. Oh, they are coming down. Coming down, yeah, okay. You can't really say what's going to happen. Some students will relax completely in one session. Others might take months to get used to being in different positions. So just be patient with it. But the important thing is to make him comfortable and to allow him to relax, which hopefully will allow you to straighten limbs. So maybe that hand will come down a bit more, and that might come down a bit more. Good. Maybe he doesn't need so many pillows now. Maybe I can take that one out. Keep the riding going all the time. Just try and keep that gentle, rhythmic movement going. Maybe I can just give him one pillow now. Perhaps he won't need so much support under his knee. Maybe we could take this out and put something smaller there. Okay, just relax nicely here. This may or may not be realistic in your particular circumstances. You may achieve this in one go, it might take months. Everyone's different. Something that is quite nice to do, if you can get their hands down, is to get them to think about making a contribution towards what's going on. So we're going to get you to push, 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 push. Maybe we could you come around and do the same with the other hand? So put the, if his hand will come down, get him to push on that, yeah, push, push, push. So realistically, he's not going to be able to make himself bounce by pushing with his hands, but he's making a contribution towards what's going on, he's involved in what's going on, and without making any sort of a thing about it, look what you're doing with the hand. You're working on the fingers, aren't you? Yeah? But we're not saying now I'm massaging your hand and trying to get your fingers straight. Yeah? The focus is on the enjoyment and the fun. So we're going to push and bounce. Push, 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 push. Yeah? The point I'm making is, talk about the pleasant sensations, the fun aspects. I wouldn't discuss with the student too much the progress. I wouldn't say, now Freddie, look how nice and straight you're lying. Do you remember when you got on here 10 minutes ago, you're all tight like this? Because all you're going to do is remind them that they're not in what for them is their normal, familiar position. They're distracted from that. They're enjoying themselves, they're allowing themselves to relax. If you remind them that that isn't usual for them, they might revert, might they? So just allow them to be distracted, okay? So we've actually got the body nice and straight here. Hopefully he's enjoying this, and he's thinking about making a contribution towards what's going on. Good. Okay, so now we're going to get the student into a sitting position. So we're just going to lift him up, okay? Like that. And I just want you to come and kneel behind him. Okay? You happy to support him like that?
Yeah.
So probably when he sits up, his knees will probably come up a little bit if it's the same student. So we need to put some more support in here, just to support under his knees. Let's have that as well. Okay, so you could then ride the bed from me, couldn't you? Now you might find that you'll want a bit more packing here to support his lower back, so maybe something down like that. And if you come up a little bit, so you can push your knees into his lower back. Does that feel like you're getting a bit more support? Yeah. Yeah? Does that work? Yeah? Okay, so let's look at a different way of doing this. Could you sit with your legs apart? You can put that down there and come up close to him, and right in close. So you're okay, because you've got the barrier of the pillow between you and the student, so there's no need to feel any sort of awkwardness, because you've got that barrier there, okay? So now you could ride the bed in a sitting position, couldn't you?
Do I use my hands for this?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll look at as many scenarios as we can think of, okay? Let's imagine that he's not able to hold his head up. So if he wasn't, maybe we could have another pillow, or maybe move this one up, or maybe put it over your shoulder like that, and then you could put his head on the pillow and support his head with one hand. Might be easy to use your other hand. Yeah, and then support yourself with the other hand. Yeah. So that might work, mightn't it? Okay. Sometimes it's a good idea to keep a pillow high up in case he's likely to jerk his head back, So, it depends on the student, doesn't it? Okay, anyway, let's put that back down there now so you both feel comfortable. Okay. Now, if you had a second teacher, there's some interesting things we can do. So I'll be the second teacher, okay? When he sat up, his knees stayed conveniently together. So that's fine. I'm going to kneel in here. So now I'm going to take his hands, and we can both ride the bed, and we're going to work on increasing the range of movement. So up and down, up and down, up. So now we're working on increasing the range of movement. Every now and then I might need to give you a shake to try and loosen it. If he's very, very tight, and I find that I'm only moving the upper arm, you could help. You could hold his elbows. Both elbows, and we could work together on it. So you could be helping. Yes, he's very tight, but together we're managing a little bit of movement. That's good. Very good. You enjoying this, Freddie? Yeah, good. Okay. Let's look at a different scenario. If when he sat up, his legs came wide apart, we could support in a different way. So let's take these out. So could you bring your legs wide apart? And bend. Yeah? So and can you come in tighter, Rosie?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? You alright? Get in nice and tight? Okay. And can you straighten your legs, Rosie? Now the most effective way to support somebody is with your own body, if you can, because your own body is infinitely adjustable. And when you first see this, it feels a bit sort of awkward, But then you see where we're going with it, and you can see, oh yeah, I understand that. So the second teacher, you know, if it's appropriate and everyone's happy with it, could put one leg through there. I'm trying to get one leg through there. Excuse me. And the other leg through there. So I'm now going to support under his knees with my thighs. Now you might think, well, that's a bit weird, but think about how you can use this. If his leg came up like that, I can provide more support. As he starts to relax, I can let him go down.
Okay.
If he's pushing over to one side, I can start to straighten him up. If you're a bit worried that this is sort of close and intimate, particularly if it was a man and woman situation, can I just borrow that for a second? Easily solved. Get another pillow and just put it in there. Then it just solves any sort of feelings of awkwardness, doesn't it? Yeah? You can have that back. So now we can do the same thing, working on increasing the range of movement. Now, supposing Freddie was pushing backwards, that's going to make your back ache, isn't it? Go on, push back really hard. Go on, extend. Is that making your back ache, Rosie? Yeah. So we've got to find a way of supporting Rosie. So Rachel, could you do me a favour? Could you pass me that blue net that's in that box? Thank you. So what I want you to do, Rosie, is hold on to that. Okay? I'm going to put this around me. And now I want you to hold on to that as well. Now, wriggle your hands down, so you're down to about here.
Both sides.
Both hands, yeah. So both sides. Yeah, you can still support under his elbows with your hands if you want to. Okay, so now extend. We'll push back, really push back, and I can share the load with Rosie. Yeah? So I can take half of that load, so it's not making your back ache. Hopefully, it's not making your back ache so much now. So just, you'll find it easier if you move your hands further down. Particularly if he's really pushing hard. Bring your hands down a bit further. Yeah, right. Now really push back hard. So I can take half of that weight, you know? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
So a simple thing like a bit of net. It doesn't have to be a net, it could be a blanket or a sheet or a duvet cover. Can actually support the teachers' backs as well. Okay, well done. Let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to look at what we might do with this student, or maybe a different student, with her in the hands and knees position. So we're using a Swiss ball to support her. You can still use a pillow to support, if she needs it, just to provide a bit of support under the chin if you want to.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And now what we're going to do is ride the bed. And we'll get you to think about pushing into the bed. So initiating the movement. So what you might do, practical applications of this position will depend on the physio's program. So you wouldn't just try things, randomly, but you could do things to complement the existing physio program. For example, imagine that this is a child who has a chest condition and needs chest clearance exercises. What can you feel on your chest as we're doing this gentle bounce? Pressure. Rhythmic pressure in your diaphragm. Mm-hmm. So if it was appropriate and it was part of her program, you might add some percussion, for chest clearance. Or maybe the physio could be up the other end, doing some leg stretches, hip extension exercises, while we're at this end, distracting her, having some fun, getting her to think about making herself bounce, and not thinking too much about what the physio is doing at the other end, or someone who's been shown what to do by the physio is doing up the other end. So the potential of what you could do in the hands in this position can be quite great, but obviously we'd always liaise with physios and other professionals to see how you can complement their existing programs. Okay? Thank you very much, Rosie. So now we're going to look at some exercises where the trainer is working underneath the bed. And you can do this for different reasons and for different effects for different types of disabilities. You might want to just give somebody a pleasant sensory experience, or you might want to give them a relaxing massage, or maybe you want to work on particular areas of the body, but you don't want to physically touch them. Maybe they don't like physical touch, you know, so it's a way of doing it without physically touching them. Possibly even you want to help with somebody's breathing abilities. So there's lots of different ways of using this, and I'll give you a few examples. You can still provide packing if you need it, if she needs it. Some people need packing even when they wouldn't ordinarily. Some people are very arched and they might need some packing under the small of their back, or maybe their knees don't go down flat. So in order to make the student comfortable, we'll provide a little bit of packing, maybe a towel or a bit of bubble wrap or something like that. Rachel doesn't look like she needs any packing at all. So we're going to just do a demonstration of different types of exercises we can do with the trainer working underneath the bed. Okay? So you need to lie in the same position as the student, with your head below her head. And all I'm going to do first of all is just work my way very slowly and gently up her back. Not on the spine, but on the muscles either side. And do liaise with your physio before you do this, because for some people this may not be appropriate. You know, if the student has a scoliosis, for example, it might not be appropriate. Maybe their rib cage is extended, or their internal organs are under pressure or whatever. So there might be occasions when this isn't appropriate. But assuming, you know, the physio has agreed that it is appropriate, for most people this is a very pleasant, relaxing experience. You don't need to push hard. In fact, less effort is really more effective. And I'm just working slowly and gently up and down her back. So this might be a person that spends most of their time in a wheelchair, so you can see that this could be quite a liberating experience. You know, we've got her out of the wheelchair, she's lying flat, and now she's experiencing what hopefully for her is a nice sensory experience. But we'll look at some other practical applications of this as well. Maybe she has very tight shoulders, so we might start by giving her a pleasant, relaxing massage, and then we might decide that we want to try and just wiggle the shoulders a little bit. So this is a way of moving her shoulders but without physically touching her, and you've got the barrier of the bed between you and the student. But hopefully you can see that her shoulders are moving. Or maybe you want to work on hip rotation. So we'll go down a bit lower and go out to the side, and you can work on hips. But of course no one's touching the student, all you're doing is pushing on the bed. But hopefully you can see that we're getting the desired result. We are actually moving her hips. Other things you can do, not everybody likes this, but some people quite like feeling scraping up and down legs. Others don't, so you know, always check. It's a good idea to have another teacher standing at the side of the trampoline and liaising with you. In fact, could one of you come along, Rosie? Because I'm underneath and I can't see her face, so I don't know whether she likes us or not. So I want you to watch her face and tell me whether you think she's enjoying that or not. Do you think she likes that or not?
No.
Can't hear you?
No.
No, okay. So some do, some don't. So you always need to have a teacher there liaising with the person underneath, because you can't tell when you're underneath. Something else you can do is riding from underneath. And that's a totally different sensation because you're pushing upwards rather than pushing down. And she's getting a very gentle stretch as we're doing it. Does it look like she's enjoying this one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Something else you can do, but please don't just do this randomly, only do it if it's part of the physio program. If the student spends all her time in a wheelchair, it could well be that her breathing is very shallow. So you might want to include an exercise that encourages her to breathe a bit more deeply. And the way to do that, providing it's appropriate, is to work your way up to about 2/3 of the way up the back, and then just push forwards and hold. So deep breath, and then relax. And they should huff. And you should find that will, when you push forwards and hold, that will encourage them to take a breath in, and when you let go, they breathe out. I think I could hear her breathing out.
Yeah.
Did that actually work? Okay. So, be able to talk, what did that feel like? Relaxing? Most people find it very relaxing. It's just a nice thing to be able to do to somebody that might spend all their time in a wheelchair, or someone that's very tense. And the riding from underneath, did that give you like a gentle stretch?
Yeah.
And what about the breathing exercise? Did you feel that you did take a bit more air in?
Yeah.
And then let it go? Yeah. So these are all potential things you can do with the trainer working underneath there. Always liaise with other professionals to make sure it's relevant, obviously. Thank you very much, Rachel. So we're going to look at some activities where we use the parachute on the trampoline, and we're going to look at some programs using the parachute for people with complex needs. So I want you to imagine that you've been hoisted onto the edge of the trampoline. So can you just kind of lie here? With your head like that out. And keep the wrinkles in there, so don't go in the wrinkles. Okay? And just come down to the wrinkle. So let's give you a pillow. So we can use the parachute as a slide sheet. So we've hoisted the student onto the edge. Now we're going to slide him to the middle. So would you like to come down here, teachers? And we're going to slide Freddie to the middle. We want to do it without pulling the wrinkles out. So don't go out at an angle. We're just going to pull them towards us, okay? Pull them towards us. So, let me tell you about Freddie. Freddie is completely non-ambient. He can only move his eyelids. He can blink once for yes and twice for no. And you might think, what on earth could you do on the trampoline with somebody with such severe disabilities? But you'd be surprised what you can do. And if you ask the right questions, he can actually lead the session. Because he can indicate yes or no by blinking or maybe moving the finger, whatever it might be. If he can indicate yes or no, he can lead the sessions if you ask the right questions, such as, are you enjoying this, Freddie? Should we do this for a bit longer? Does this feel okay? Can I take this a little bit further? Can I take it further still? Does it still feel okay? Would you like to rest? Would you like to do something different? Would you like to carry on? Would you like to stop? Do you know what I mean? If you ask the right questions, he could lead the session. So, what we're going to do now is have a teacher just standing here if you would. So, Rosie, would you be my teacher or just come and stand here?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And don't stand on the silk because it's slippery. Just put your feet underneath the silk, okay? Now, do bear in mind that if Freddie is looking straight up into a bright light, you know, that's going to hinder his ability to relax, but you can't cover his eyes up because that's how he communicates. So you need to turn the lights down. So we're just going to start with some very gentle riding. Can you do that? So this student, who's completely non-ambient, is experiencing movement, hopefully is aware of the colours around him. And there's another sense coming into play as well. Sound. The lapping of the parachute on the bed. So there's a lot going on here. He's out in his wheelchair, he's lying down, and there's a lot of experiences going on. Sound, movement, colours, and so on. And hopefully he's finding this quite enjoyable. So I wouldn't rush into using, doing more practical applications. I would let him enjoy this for 10 minutes or so. So let's imagine that he's done this for 10 minutes, and now we're going to look at how we might provide him with a little bit of exercise, but without physically touching him. Because if you think about it, the only exercise that Freddie is ever likely to get is when people are physically moving his body. But in a similar way to how we can exercise the body when we're underneath the trampoline, we can exercise the body with the parachute. So Rachel, can I ask you to stand opposite? And could you just gently lie the bed for us? Okay. So what I'm going to do, Freddie, is give you a little stretch along the lower right-hand side of your body, okay? And you just blink once for yes and twice for no, okay? So I'm just going to take a bit of silk in line with his ankles, and I'm just going to move it this way. Can you feel some movement there, Freddie? Can we go a bit further? Right. Does that feel okay still? Can we go further? Okay. Maybe that's enough for the first session. So now I'm going to give you a little stretch along the lower left-hand side of the body. So just keep it gentle, very, very gentle. Can you pull a bit of silk just in line with his ankle and give him a stretch along the lower left-hand side? So we're going in that direction. So you should feel a bit of movement now, Freddie. Yeah. Can we go a bit further? Can we go a bit further? Is that enough for now? Yeah, I said that's enough for now. Moving back to me. So now we're going to give you a little stretch along the top right-hand side of the body. So you've got to make sure you get hold of the right area, because if you pull the silk too high up, you'll move the head over. If you pull too low down, you'll move the body and leave the head behind, and the neck tends to twist. So you've got to find the right area, which is just above the shoulder, about there, I think. So it's going to give you a little, yeah, that seems to be working. Can you feel that movement? Can you go a bit further? Yeah? So now he should be beginning to feel a bit of a stretch here. But the nice thing is, he's just lying there. No one's physically moving his body. Can you go a bit further with this, Freddie? Yeah? Okay, so he's getting quite a stretch there, isn't he? So could you give him a stretch along the upper left-hand side of the body? So probably enough in the first session. Moving back to the middle. You still okay, Freddie? Good. Okay, so there's something that you and I can do, and we probably do every day, that Freddie can never do. And that's have a really good stretch. The only time he can have a really good stretch is when someone's got hold of his ankles and got hold of him under the arms and pulling the body straight. But with the parachute on the bed, on the trampoline bed, we can give him the experience of a stretch without physically touching him. That's why I put these wrinkles in. And it won't look like much is happening, but I'm hoping that Freddie will tell us differently. So, Rosie, can I move this just slightly to one side? And the reason I took the end deck off is so that I can lever my body against the end of the trampoline. So I'm just going to take the silk like that. So can you just keep the line there? And I'm just going to pull the wrinkles out. And hopefully, as the wrinkles are pulled out, we'll begin to experience the feel of a stretch. And smiling, look. So it doesn't look like much is happening, but I'm hoping it's getting a nice stretch as we pull these wrinkles out. So that's about as far as we can go now, because it's coming off the bed. Okay, can you tell us what that felt like? Yeah. And could you feel a bit of a stretch? Yeah. And could you feel the sideways stretches? Yeah. Was it, on the whole, reasonably pleasant? Maybe quite a liberating experience for a completely non-animal person who's only used to physical manipulation. So the idea of the parachute on the trampoline in rebound therapy is really to give freedom of movement. Can you imagine, although he said he felt the stretch even though he was lying nice and straight. Of course, it wouldn't have worked if the parachute was taut. All you would do is slide the body up and down the parachute, up and down the bed. But by putting the wrinkles in, as you pull the wrinkles out, the body is getting stretched underneath it. But imagine now that Freddie was the person that, I think, oh, you played the part of somebody with, you know, cerebral palsy. So imagine you're that person here. So just move yourself back up a bit. Just lift your legs up. When you put some, lift them right up, put some wrinkles in. So maybe we'll put some packing in there. That's it. We'll put some packing in there. Imagine like we did earlier, yeah? So we'll do some gentle riding, and maybe take some of the packing out, and we could use the parachute to start to straighten the body, couldn't we? And take a bit more packing out, and pull it a bit more, and take a bit more packing out. So you see, we could do some of the things we did earlier, but with less physical touch. So the point of all these exercises really is to just give you ideas on how you could develop programs in liaison with physios and other professionals. No one's saying this is exactly how you're going to do it. Realistically, people come in the course and then they review the video and they start to think of certain clients and students and they think, I could use a bit of that, don't think that would work, or I could possibly adapt that, or maybe use a bit of that with that. So they're just ideas for helping you develop programs. Okay? Are you happy to stay on and do a couple more things? Yeah? So, Rosie, would you go the other side? Don't walk on the silk, just go underneath it. So we'll stand opposite me. Now, Freddie is a bit tall for this. Really, we would need 2 teachers each side. If you're shorter, you can do it as well. But what we're going to do is just roll the parachute down to 2 minutes. And your left hand needs to be up near his head. And come and stand close to him. A little bit closer. So, Freddie has never experienced what it feels like to roll onto his right-hand side. He doesn't even know where his right-hand side is. So we can give him that experience by rolling him in the parachute. So can you just put a little bit of slack in? Your job is just to stop him falling onto his face, okay? So hands go in the middle like that, which is already done, so he doesn't get pins and needles. Okay, and I'm just going to lift the parachute and just roll him onto his right-hand side. So now he's experiencing what it feels like to be on his right-hand side. And now we can experience rolling into his left-hand side. So roll it down below your knees and just roll him over. With somebody who's tall as Freddie, you really need 2 people on each side, but with a child, it would work better the way you did it with just 1 person. Thank you very much, Freddie. Okay, so there are just some ideas of how you might use parachute when you're working with somebody with complex needs.